Hi, I'm Mary Jane Brixa from Lioness Publications. And what we're going to be talking about in this segment is we're going to be looking at the Wisconsin Supreme Court election that's going on next week. And that's on April 1st. So we're going to be looking at the two contenders. One is Susan Crawford and the other is Brad Schimel. Brad is the GOP. Susan is the Democrat. We're also going to take a look at the Wisconsin state chart. So there's three charts to go over. I'm going to try and make it quick. And I do apologize for wearing a mask, but my allergies are just really bad today. I've been coughing, sneezing, and the mask is actually helping. So let's look first at Brad's chart. And a few things I want to mention here. First, we've got Uranus, which is sitting right over here. It's going to be square to his natal Mercury. What does that mean? Well, square is a stress. And this is, by the way, for April 1st, the transits. Now, what that indicates to me is that what he's saying is just not going to resonate to the voting public. So so what that comes down to is the opinions that people have are not going to be consistent with what he is saying. So this is saying to me, probably not going to win. Now, we also have Mars, which is also making an angle to Mercury. And Mars, in this case, is literally looking at actions, and in effect, the type of angle is an inconjunct, which means it's going to be a break and adjust. So that means the actions are actually going to be likely breaking away from what he's thinking. So that means to me that it's setting up that he's not going to win the vote. Now, it doesn't mean that eventually he's not going to contest it, but it doesn't look positive for what he's saying. And again, it's Mercury that's being affected here. So next thing, let's take a look at transiting Mercury and transiting Venus. Now, I don't usually get down into this because this tends to get sort of short-term trends, but in this case, it's sort of interesting because that's on his South Node. South Node is where you give out. So again, this is showing to me that what people are thinking, the communities in general, are not liking what he's presenting. So in effect, he's going to be paying for that. Now we also have, right over here, we have the sun that's going to be making an angle, and that's going to be in a few days to both Venus and to Pluto. Now, what that indicates to me, and that's going to be after the election, is that he's probably going to contest this. Now, we don't know if that's going to be positive or negative. We'll have to see how that plays out. Now, the last thing I want to mention is Venus and Mercury are also making an angle over to Neptune here. Now, that is indicating, again, what he said, what the current thought is in Minnesota, and the community is not in line with what he is envisioning. So again, it could be that they're shifting away from the restrictive type of or the limited government or the restrictions on abortion, things like that. Now let's take a look at Susan Crawford's chart, which is right here. And first off, we've got, and it's going to be literally after or during the election, we've got her sun we've got transiting sun making an angle to her Uranus, which is change. So the sun here indicates that there's going to be a spotlight, and the type of angle is an inconjunct, which is a break, which means that likely there's going to be a challenge to her coming out in this election. And it could be that eventually it gets decided against her. But one thing that seems to be important here is we have Jupiter, which is transiting, coming on her North Node, which is where she takes in, or where people take in. And that indicates opportunities for her. It's not yet exact, which is telling me this is not going to be decided on the 1st. It's probably going to be a few days before it gets decided. So that's interesting. There's not much else going on in the chart, but this is, like I said, very interesting. So right from these two charts, I would say the probability is that Crawford is going to win the election. It probably will not be decided that day. There's going to be some time before it gets finalized. Now let's take a look at Wisconsin and see what the state says. So first here, let's take a look at right over here. We've got Mars actually making a conjunction to Mars. That means this can be really irritating, stressful. It's going to be an irritating and stressful time. You have Musk in there trying to buy votes. So this is something that could sort of allay to that, meaning that there is actions that are cross purposes. Now, this Mars is also making a angle to the natal Saturn of Wisconsin. So this is saying that the actions are being done literally for probably the candidate to put more restrictions in, or in this case, to follow an agenda that's Trump's. Now, next thing we have here is that we have Saturn actually making a conjunction to Saturn. Now, this is a tough one because what this is indicating is that there's obstacles to the restrictions, which means that people are probably not liking what they're seeing. And this is likely going to show up in the votes. It doesn't mean that it's not going to be close, because I think it is going to be somewhat close. But the overall feeling is likely that people are saying, is this where we want to go? So it won't be just an opinion on this election. It may be an opinion on what is going on overall. Now, one thing I want to point out here is that Jupiter is actually going to be making, it's not making it on the 1st. It won't make it till around the 25th of April. It's making a conjunction to Mercury. I suspect that they will have recounts, there will be challenges, and it may not be finalized until that date. Now, what we'll do is we'll come back the end of next week, but then again, we'll come back at the end of the month, at the end of April, and see if there's anything here that cropped up from the appeals. But otherwise, it looks more positive for Crawford than it does for Schimel. So have a great evening, and thank you for watching. Bye now.